Have you ever woken up one morning, turned to look at the man lying next to you, and realized his eyes no longer light up the way they used to? Linda had that moment. A small fleeting moment, but enough to shatter the world she had spent over 20 years building. She once believed that time would deepen love, that struggles and shared burdens would make him stay closer. But reality was harsher. The more familiar she became, the more distant he grew. Not because he fell out of love, not because there was someone else, but because of something far worse: boredom. And Linda was not alone. So many women have devoted their youth, their heart, their entire being to a man, only to one day realize they have become invisible in the eyes of the one they love. They struggle, they hurt, but few truly understand. There are secrets, powerful secrets, that can reignite a man's desire, even after years, even after decades. These secrets are not in textbooks. They are not the same tired advice about cooking better, staying slim, or sacrificing more. They are deeper, more subtle. They awaken something primal inside a man, something he himself cannot explain. Linda discovered these 5 secrets, not in moments of happiness, but in the silent, aching nights when she wondered if it was already too late. Each secret transformed her. Each one changed the way she saw herself, the way she loved, and the way he looked at her. And now, you might be wondering, what makes a man, after years of living together, still feel an irresistible pull toward you? How do you avoid becoming just another part of the furniture, something he no longer notices? And why can just one small shift in the way you connect completely revive your relationship? If you've ever felt the fear of fading away in your own love story, if you've ever asked yourself how to keep the spark alive, even as time leaves its marks, then you need to stay. Because what I'm about to share will change the way you see love forever. 5 secrets, 5 keys, and a journey that will surprise you in ways you never expected. Get ready, because the first secret might just make you whisper to yourself, "If only I had known this sooner." Linda sat alone that night, staring at the empty space beside her. David was there, somewhere in the house, but he felt galaxies away. The silence between them had grown thick, like a fog neither of them knew how to clear. She could feel it. The way he barely noticed when she wore her favorite dress. The way conversations became mechanical, polite, predictable. She had 2 choices: blame time, or fight back. Not with anger, not with demands, but with understanding. And that's when Linda stumbled upon the first secret. Men stay where they feel alive, not where they feel obligated, not where they feel trapped, but where their emotions, their excitement, their pride, their desire, are stirred over and over again. Linda realized something powerful that night. She didn't lose David because she grew older. She didn't lose him because she wasn't beautiful enough or giving enough. She was losing him because somehow, without meaning to, she had stopped making him feel. When they first met, every moment with Linda was an adventure. He never knew what she might say, what dream she was chasing, what laughter she would bring. But over the years, comfort had replaced excitement. Predictability had smothered passion. And so, Linda made a decision. She would become the woman who made him feel again. Not by changing who she was. Not by pretending to be someone else. But by reconnecting with the very essence that had drawn him to her in the first place. The next morning she did something simple yet transformative. She didn't bombard him with a list of chores or complaints. She didn't sigh heavily, hoping he would notice her unhappiness. Instead, she shared a story. A wild, funny memory from her college days she had never told him before. Her eyes lit up as she spoke. She laughed without worrying how she looked. For a moment she became a mystery again. A woman with layers he had yet to discover. And David? He listened. Really listened. He laughed with her. He asked questions. He leaned closer. In that one simple exchange, Linda awakened something inside him. A sense of curiosity, of wonder, of emotional connection. She had given him what men crave more than anything else. A feeling. You see, men are not logical creatures when it comes to love. They don't stay because they made a rational decision years ago. They stay because being with you makes them feel alive, valued, challenged, desired. It's not about being perfect. It's not about performing. It's about energy, the invisible spark you share. Think about it. When was the last time you surprised him? Not with a gift, but with a piece of yourself he hadn't seen before. When was the last time you made him feel something unexpected, laughter, admiration, even a little bit of awe? Linda started weaving small, powerful changes into their daily life. Sometimes she would share a dream she had never mentioned. Other times she would suggest something spontaneous, like trying a new restaurant or taking a different route home. Nothing dramatic, nothing fake, just moments that reminded David, there's still so much about this woman I don't know, and I want to find out. The more Linda did this, the more David responded. He reached for her hand more often. He started planning small adventures of their own. He looked at her, really looked the way he hadn't in years. And Linda felt it too. She wasn't just surviving in her relationship. She was living. The secret wasn't in changing herself into someone new. It was in awakening the emotions that had always lived between them, but had been buried under routine and responsibility. It's a dance, a delicate one, not manipulating, not forcing, but inviting him again and again into a shared world of feelings and discovery. Because here's the truth, men don't fall in love with women who make them think. They fall in love and stay in love with women who make them feel. And the beautiful part? No matter how many years have passed, no matter how many wrinkles, gray hairs, or scars you both carry, the ability to stir his heart, to awaken the man he was when he first fell for you, that power is still in your hands. Linda's journey had just begun. She had reawakened David's curiosity, but there were still deeper layers to explore, ways to make sure the connection didn't just flicker back for a moment, but burned steadily, passionately for years to come. In the next part, we'll uncover the second secret, how to become his safe place and his greatest challenge at the same time. It's a paradox, but once you understand it, you'll never have to wonder if he's drifting away again. Get ready, because the next step is where the real magic happens. Linda was beginning to see the shifts, small at first, a spark in David's eyes, a softness in his voice when he spoke to her. But deep inside she knew, if she wanted the connection to last, if she wanted more than just a temporary glow, she had to go deeper. One night, as she sat by the window sipping her tea, a thought crossed her mind. A man doesn't just need excitement. He needs a place where he can rest. And yet, he also needs a reason to keep reaching. She had always believed she had to be either nurturing or inspiring, never both. But life, as she was learning, isn't made of either. It's made of beautiful contradictions. The second secret Linda discovered was this: be his safe harbor. And his greatest challenge. Sounded impossible at first. How could she be the comforting embrace and the thrilling unknown at the same time? But the more Linda reflected, the more she understood. Men, even the strongest ones, carry silent battles inside. They wear armor in the outside world. They fight. They endure. They pretend they're invincible. But at the end of the day, what every man craves is someone who sees the cracks under that armor and loves him not despite them, but because of them. Linda realized that for David, she needed to be a place he could land, without judgment, without pressure, without fixing him. So she started small. When David came home, tired and frustrated, she didn't rush in with solutions. She didn't tell him to get over it, or look on the bright side. She listened. She let the silence sit between them when needed. She placed her hand lightly on his and simply said, "It's okay. You don't have to carry it all alone." That simple act, that pure, unconditional acceptance, worked like magic. David, who usually kept his worries locked tight, began to open up little by little. He felt safe. He felt seen. He felt home. But Linda didn't stop there. She understood the second half of the secret. Men don't just want comfort. They also crave a challenge, a reason to grow, to chase, to strive. And so, even as she became his safe harbor, she made sure never to become too predictable. Sometimes she would share a bold idea for their future. Other times she would tease him playfully, keeping a spark of mystery alive. She continued to pursue her passions, her dreams, not out of rebellion, but out of love for herself. Linda became a woman who stood by David's side, but also a woman who walked her own vibrant path. And that, more than anything, reignited his respect, his admiration, his desire. He wasn't just looking at a wife. He was looking at a partner, a muse, a woman he could lean on and chase after. It's a delicate balance, this dance between safety and challenge. Too much safety and love becomes stagnant. Too much challenge and love becomes exhausting. But when you offer both, you become irreplaceable. Imagine it. He comes home after a long day, knowing he can drop his guard with you, without fear, without shame. Yet, in the quiet moments, he still feels the thrill of discovering new sides of you. He rests in you, and he reaches for you. That is the kind of bond that lasts decades. That is the kind of woman no man ever wants to lose. Linda saw it in David's eyes. Not just comfort, not just gratitude, but awe, longing, devotion. She hadn't trapped him. She had set him free, and by doing so, had bound him to her more tightly than ever. It wasn't about playing games. It wasn't about manipulation. It was about embodying the full, beautiful paradox that true love demands. With me you are safe, but with me you must also rise. And David rose, not because he had to, because he wanted to. He became a better man, not out of duty, but out of inspiration. All because Linda had the courage to be both his shelter and his storm. As you reflect on this secret, ask yourself, are you offering him a place where he can lay down his burdens without judgment? Are you still daring him to grow, to chase, to discover new parts of you? Not, what would happen if you did? Because the woman who can be both a soft landing and an exhilarating horizon, she holds a power few ever understand. Linda's journey was far from over. There were still deeper truths she would uncover. Truths that would take her love story from restored to truly extraordinary. In the next part, we'll reveal the third secret. How to stay forever unforgettable, even as the years pass. A hint? It's not about your looks. It's not about competing with younger women. It's about mastering a kind of presence that no time, no wrinkle, no passing season can ever erase. Get ready, because what's coming next will change the way you see yourself forever. There's something haunting about a memory you can't escape. It clings to you, soft, sweet, inevitable, long after the noise of the world has faded. And that night, as Linda watched David sleep, she realized something chilling. Being loved is one thing. Being unforgettable is something else entirely. Love, she had learned, could grow tired, could fade, could slip into quiet routines, polite conversations, friendly companionship. But to be unforgettable? To linger in his soul even when he was distracted, exhausted, overwhelmed? That was a different kind of magic. Linda had reignited David's emotions. She had become his harbor and his horizon. But now she wanted more. She wanted to become the woman whose scent he could remember even in dreams. The woman whose voice echoed in the spaces between his thoughts. The woman he would choose again and again even when no one was watching. The third secret is this. To be unforgettable, you must master the art of presence. Not appearance, not perfection, not a desperate fight against time. Presence. That rare, luminous quality of being fully there, fully alive, fully yourself. In a world that teaches us to shrink, to apologize, to fade. Linda realized that true presence wasn't about commanding attention. It was about offering it. It was about being the kind of woman who, when she looked at you, made you feel like you were the only soul in the room. When she spoke, she wasn't half scrolling through her phone. When she listened, she wasn't planning her response. When she touched, she wasn't distracted by 1,000 worries. She was there. Entirely. Honestly. Fiercely. And that kind of attention is addictive. In a world full of noise, distractions, superficial smiles, a woman who is fully present becomes unforgettable. So Linda began practicing. Tiny shifts, nothing dramatic. When David spoke, she made eye contact, deep, unwavering kind. She put down her phone. She turned her body fully toward him. She noticed little things. The way his voice changed when he was excited. The way his hands moved when he was explaining something he cared about. She wasn't studying him. She was honoring him with her attention. And David felt it. At first, he couldn't even put it into words. He just knew that when he was with Linda, he felt seen. He felt important. He felt chosen. And Linda felt powerful. Not because she manipulated him. Not because she played games. But because she finally understood. Presence is seduction. Presence is intimacy. Presence is immortality. You don't need to look 20 years younger to captivate a man's soul. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to show up fully, radiantly, unapologetically you. But it doesn't stop there. Linda also discovered that unforgettable women aren't just present for others. They're present for themselves. She nurtured her own life, her own passions. She took time to feel her own joys, her own sorrows, her own dreams. Because a woman who is deeply in tune with herself is a woman who cannot be ignored. When Linda walked into a room, she didn't need to announce herself. Her very being, her stillness, her vibrancy, her authenticity, did all the speaking for her. And David noticed. He noticed how other men looked at her. Not out of lust, but out of awe. He noticed how she carried herself. Not like a woman desperate to be loved, but like a woman who knew she was already worthy of love. And that made him fall even deeper. You see, it's never about competing with younger women. It's never about chasing after attention. It's about embodying a spirit that says, I am here. I am alive. I am a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Because no matter how much time passes, no matter how much the world changes, the essence of true attraction remains the same. Men don't crave perfection. They crave presence. And presence is eternal. Linda's love story wasn't about recapturing the past. It was about building a new kind of future. One where David didn't just stay out of habit, but stayed out of pure burning choice. And all of it, the laughter, the tenderness, the devotion, stemmed from one decision: to be fully alive, to be fully here, to be unforgettable. But Linda's journey wasn't over yet. There was another secret, one even more profound, more daring, more transformative. A secret that would not just keep David interested, but would deepen their bond into something few couples ever experience. In the next part, we'll uncover the fourth secret: how to keep growing, together and apart, so love never grows stale. Because true love isn't about holding tighter. It's about flying higher side by side. Are you ready to rise? Because the next step will challenge everything you thought you knew about commitment and set you free. The seasons were changing again. Linda could feel it, not just in the crispness of the air, but in the quiet shifts between herself and David. They were closer than they had been in years. And yet, some nights, as she lay awake beside him, Linda felt an ancient fear creeping in. What if we grow bored? What if we wake up one day and realize we've become strangers? It's a fear that haunts many long-term relationships. Not because love isn't real, but because life, with all its demands and routines, slowly numbs the magic. Linda didn't want to lose what they had rebuilt. She didn't want their story to fade into lukewarm familiarity. And so she asked herself the hardest question of all: how do you keep love alive? Not just for a year or 5, but for a lifetime. The fourth secret she discovered was this: grow together and apart at the same time. It sounds paradoxical, doesn't it? But it's the secret heartbeat of every extraordinary relationship. Linda realized that trying to cling to David, trying to do everything together, trying to blend into a single identity, would slowly smother the very fire she wanted to protect. Love isn't about becoming one person. It's about two people walking side by side, each evolving, each expanding, each daring to become more. So Linda did something radical. She encouraged David to pursue dreams outside of their marriage, passions he had buried, goals he had postponed. She didn't just allow it, she celebrated it. When David decided to finally start the woodworking shop he'd always dreamed about, Linda didn't worry that he would have less time for her. She trusted that a man who felt fully alive would bring that vitality back into their relationship. And she did the same for herself. She signed up for a photography class she had always been curious about. She traveled with friends. She read new books, explored new ideas, fed parts of herself that had nothing to do with being a wife. First it felt strange, almost selfish, but slowly something miraculous began to happen. They had more to talk about, more to share, more admiration for each other. When David spoke about the furniture he was crafting, Linda's eyes lit up, not out of obligation but genuine wonder. When Linda showed him the photographs she had taken, David saw her not just as his wife, but as a brilliant, ever-evolving woman. They became curious about each other again. They fell in love, not just with who they had been, but with who they were becoming. Because here's the truth most people never tell you. Love dies when curiosity dies. Love fades when growth stops. The best relationships aren't the ones where two people merge into one. They're the ones where two whole vibrant souls choose each other. Day after day after day. Linda and David laughed more now. They challenged each other more. They inspired each other to reach higher, dream bigger. And ironically, by giving each other space to grow, they ended up closer than ever. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that togetherness means constant proximity. But true togetherness is when two people can stand on their own and still choose to stand side by side. Linda learned that growing apart doesn't mean losing love. It means expanding love, making it bigger, richer, more resilient. She wasn't afraid of David changing anymore. She wasn't afraid of herself changing either, because change wasn't the enemy, stagnation was. And by embracing growth, both together and apart, they created a love story that could weather any storm. Think about it. When was the last time you surprised yourself? When was the last time you surprised your partner? Not by doing something dramatic, but by revealing a new dream, a new strength, a new side of yourself. If you want love to stay exciting, you have to stay exciting to yourself. And if you want him to keep being curious about you, you must first stay curious about your own life. Linda had found the fourth secret, and it changed everything. Their marriage didn't just survive, it thrived. Not because they were perfect, not because they never fought, but because they never stopped becoming. And every time David looked at Linda, this woman who was familiar yet still mysterious, safe yet still thrilling, his heart whispered the same simple truth. I choose you. Still. Again. Always. But Linda's journey wasn't quite finished. There was one final secret. One that would take all the others and weave them into an unbreakable bond. The ultimate key to lasting passion. The secret most women overlook, yet crave deep down in their souls. In the next part, we'll reveal the fifth and final secret. How to be his deepest addiction. The one love he can't live without. Are you ready for the final step? Guys, this one changes everything. Some people leave footprints on your heart. Others leave a fire. And Linda, standing by the window that rainy afternoon, finally understood what she was chasing all along. It wasn't just love. It wasn't just loyalty. It wasn't even happiness. It was something far rarer, far more dangerous, far more beautiful. She wanted to be unforgettable, essential, irreplaceable, not by being perfect, not by being everything, but by becoming the one thing no one else could ever be. Herself, fully, fiercely, fearlessly. The fifth and final secret Linda uncovered is simple, and yet it demands more courage than anything else. To become his deepest addiction, you must first become deeply addicted to your own life. Sounds strange, doesn't it? But the truth is, a man cannot resist a woman who is alive. So wildly, so unapologetically alive, that being with her feels like breathing fire and tasting honey all at once. Linda realized that David didn't just love her kindness. He didn't just admire her strength. He didn't just enjoy her companionship. He was addicted to her energy, her light, her essence. Because Linda had done what few dared to do. She kept her passions burning. She stayed endlessly curious. She embraced her own sensuality, her own power, her own dreams. She stopped waiting for David to make her feel alive. She became her own source of aliveness. And in doing so, she became magnetic. Every laugh that bubbled from her lips, every sparkle that danced in her eyes, every idea she chased with reckless joy, it all made David feel something he couldn't find anywhere else. Home, desire, wonder. Linda didn't need David to complete her. She wanted him to join her. And that difference, that electrifying difference, was what made him crave her, choose her, fight for her, even when the easy thing would have been to drift apart. You see, most women are taught that to keep a man, you have to bend, twist, shrink, mold yourself to fit his needs. But the real secret? You don't win a man's soul by becoming less. You win it by becoming more. More alive, more passionate, more honest, more daring. Linda embraced her flaws without shame. She owned her desires without apology. She laughed too loudly sometimes. She cried when she needed to. She chased dreams that scared her. And David? He didn't just love her for it. He needed her for it. Because in a world that tells men to numb themselves, to hide their dreams, to be strong and silent, Linda was a reminder that it's safe to feel, safe to want, safe to be fully gloriously human. She wasn't just his wife. She was his mirror, his muse, his spark. And that kind of woman is impossible to forget. Linda knew now. It wasn't about never aging. It wasn't about never arguing. It wasn't about locking him down. It was about staying lit from within, so that every time he looked at her, he didn't just see his wife. He saw the whole world he wanted to explore. The kind of woman a man doesn't just settle for, but fights to keep. The kind of love that doesn't just survive life storms, but dances in the rain. And as Linda watched the rain trace patterns down the glass, she smiled, because she wasn't afraid anymore. Not of boredom, not of change, not of losing him. She knew that by choosing her own aliveness every day, she was also choosing a love that could never grow old. And deep inside, David knew it too. Every glance, every touch, every breath between them whispered the same silent truth. You are my sweetest addiction, and I never want to recover. So if you're wondering, how do you keep him interested for a lifetime? It's not about tricks. It's not about chasing. It's not about begging. It's about daring to become a woman so vibrant, so real, so alive, that he feels like the luckiest man on earth, every single day. Not because you trapped him, but because you inspired him to become the best version of himself, just by being the best version of you. That is the real secret. That is the kind of love story that never ends. And it all starts, not with him, not with rules, not with fear, but with you. So, what will you choose today? To shrink or to shine? Because somewhere out there, someone is waiting to fall in love with your light. Don't dim it. Let it blaze. And watch how the right man, the man who sees your soul, will never ever let go. Now I want to hear from you. Which secret today resonated the most with you? Was it the power of mystery? The art of emotional intimacy? Or maybe the magic of growing together? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I'd love to know which part of your story is about to begin. And if you found even one moment in today's video that lit a spark inside you, imagine what's coming next. Because in the upcoming videos, we're going even deeper. How to rebuild attraction after years together, how to reignite passion when life feels too busy, and even how to handle those tough moments. The doubts, the distance, the days when love feels just out of reach. You won't want to miss it. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, tap the like, and turn on the notification bell. Because this journey we're on, it's just getting started. You are stronger, wiser, and more radiant than you know. And today, by choosing to invest in yourself, in your love, in your future, you've already taken the most important step. Believe it, own it, live it. Until next time, keep shining, keep loving, and remember, the best is yet to come. See you soon.